As a Toronto Raptors fan, I feel downright embarrassed following this game, as not once, but twice did we give up insane scoring runs to the Orlando Magic, one of the league's worst NBA teams, but the game was there for the taking. The Magic led us back into the game every opportunity they could. Every opportunity the Magic had to give up this game, to take the L, to get 1 inch closer to Victor Wembanyama, they were giving it to us. And the Toronto Raptors, who are a team that's supposed to be hoping to make a deep playoff run this year, we couldn't snatch this victory away from one of the league's worst teams, and for a multitude of reasons. So without further ado, let's dive straight into this game. Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here, the Raptors Digest, reacting to the Toronto Raptors 113-109 loss to the Orlando Magic. And this one was, as I said in the intro, it was embarrassing. As a Raptors fan, as someone that comes out here on YouTube and spouts how we're going to be a top 3 seed, I still believe it. But after tonight, man, there's definitely some things that we have to fix up. And, this game, while we should regularly win, no one was really excited for it. These are the important games you have to win, especially when you've been struggling as of late. Because this Raptors team, they got most of their players back from injury, and they took a couple tough losses, the Pelicans, the Nets. They got a win against the Magic last weekend, which seemed to put them back on track a little bit. We had that brutal loss to the Celtics, but then we were able to come out and knock out the LA Lakers. And people aren't too excited about the wins we've been getting as of late against the Magic and the Lakers. They've been roasting me for feeling a little bit positive following those wins. But the reason I was positive is because we didn't have a night like we just did tonight. Because when you lose to one of the league's worst NBA teams, that's when you should be frustrated. That's when you should be scared a little bit, because this Raptors team, we don't have the excuse of, we don't have half our lineup in store. Yes, we don't have Precious. Yes, we don't have Otto, but we still have a core group of guys that really should be coming out here and beating the Orlando Magic. And tonight, it's brutal. And the thing that makes it even more frustrating is, in this game, we had our superstar Pascal Siakam play absolutely amazing. I mean, you look at his box score, 36 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists, was getting bucket after bucket down the stretch. Obviously could have been a little bit more efficient, 13 of 27, 2 of 9 from the three-point line. We'll discuss the three-point shooting after, but there's no criticism being thrown the way of Pascal Siakam. He had an amazing game. All the defense was absolutely clustered in on him, and Pascal was, whatever coverage he had, he made the right decisions, he made the right plays. So we had an amazing Pascal Siakam game. We also had our star boy, Gary Trent Jr., go off the bench, right? He had 20 points in 35 minutes, 8 of 16 from the field, was able to knock down his threes as well, and played pretty solid defense. Got a couple steals, a couple assists tonight. Gary Trent Jr. had a very solid performance in this one. So we had a strong performance from those guys, and OG Anunoby, I'm not criticizing. He played 44 minutes in this one and was mostly on Paolo, who did have himself a decent scoring night, but gave some serious effort out there on the defensive end, even if it didn't reflect, because Franz and Paolo, even though OG was on Paolo most of the night, right, did have some bigger games. Those 3 guys were solid. And Thaddeus Young off the bench in his 12 minutes of action. I think he should be getting more playing time. Was really good. 5 points, knocked down a 3, couple assists, got some hustle, played some defense. So those guys were great. And who does that leave out? 2 players, obviously Gary's been a guy a lot of people have been criticizing, but one guy, it has to be brought up because I continuously back him on podcasts saying he's been a valuable facilitator for this team. He plays solid defense. And tonight, how many steals did he have? Only 1 steal, surprisingly, but get some deflections and stuff. And, it's a solid defender at the point of attack. But man, having a point guard that really can't shoot at this point is hampering this Raptors team at this point, because Fred VanVleet's usually the guy that sort of runs our half-court offense. He's usually the dude that gets people in the right places and can knock down, can hit his open shot, space the court, be that needed Raptors shooting that this team desperately needs. Be the shooting that this Raptors team desperately needs. And as of late, man, it's been well documented. Everyone's talking about it. He still cannot get it together in terms of having efficient shooting tonight. Even against the Lakers, he wasn't that efficient. But in this one, Fred VanVleet, 19 points, which you think would be solid, 19 and 6, a steal and all that. But 2 of 9 from the three-point line, 5 of 14 from the field. Got to the free throw line a little bit, even though I thought the Raptors were getting some pretty veteran calls, if that makes sense, right? The referees were giving our players a lot of respect. I could see why Orlando Magic fans might be a little bit frustrated about some of the calls the Raptors were getting. But, man, if Fred can't shoot, he's a liability on offense. That is what it is. He's a liability out there on offense because he's one of the league's worst finishers around the rim. He's not effective from, that 0 to 5 to 10 feet range. He gets blocked a lot. He goes in, he kind of sells layups, right? Like Fred VanVleet, he's never been that effective, even as all-star moments. He's not a great finisher, whether it be, obviously, he's not dunking on anybody. Doesn't have that Kyrie-esque finishing underneath the basket. But where Fred VanVleet is usually elite, he can usually knock down those dribble pull-ups. He's an effective three-point shooter. I mean, all the advanced stats in terms of three-point effectiveness, in terms of pull-ups, in terms of spot-up shooting, Fred VanVleet for the past few seasons has always been tops in the league at those numbers. And right now, seems like every game it's 2 for 9, 3 for 10, 1 for 5, all of these stuff from behind the three-point line. And then, the overall field goal percentage almost feels even worse. And the Toronto Raptors just can't. I don't feel confident in Fred VanVleet hitting an open shot at this point. I know he's getting his shots contested and stuff, but you watch him shoot, and it killed us down the stretch because they're kind of leaving Fred open. They're kind of sagging off, giving him that space. You got to take it. As a smaller guard that is not supposedly. He's a strong shooter, but a guy that's not hitting right now. You have to take those shots, but he's been missing it, and it's really selling the Raptors these games. Like that's a part of the reason. I don't want to throw all the blame onto Fred, but he's got to figure out the shooting, man. He's got to figure out the shooting because when that three's going down, opens up the rest of his game. Those driving lanes can happen. It's easier for him to facilitate. But right now, players, while they're not leaving him open by any means, they're sagging off him. They're sagging off those driving lanes. They're letting him to make those takes, and he's just not hitting. He's not making the defense pay. And for a guy that was an all-star last season, he really needs to step up on the offensive end. So I get where all the criticism is coming from for Fred VanVleet. I'm not here to back the guy shooting at this point now. Am I someone that says, we should waive him, we should cut him, or anything like that? No, but it's a brutal look out here. And Fred VanVleet needs to start hitting shots, or Nick Nurse needs to get him some more open looks. Right, I like that we're actually playing Gary Trent Jr. minutes right now, but still 37 minutes for Fred. No minutes for Flynn, no minutes for Delano Banton. Can someone give this guy a breather in terms of Fred? Give us a different look at the point guard position on offense? I don't really know, because another guy that we sort of expect to be playing some point guard position this year is Scottie Barnes. And I'll get it going. I'll get the drum roll going tonight. And the only Scottie Barnes award, as people know, the criteria is fluid, right? It changes every game, right? The Scottie Barnes award. I'll get the fluid animation going. I haven't played it in recent vids. Well, tonight, it's going to none other than Franz Wagner of the Orlando Magic. And do you know how sick it feels to say that? Franz Wagner is getting the Scottie Barnes award? It's disgusting. It's leaving a bad taste in my mouth. It makes me sick out here to sit in front of this camera and give the Scottie Barnes award to Franz Wagner. But Orlando Magic, and stupidly always talk about Franz Wagner is better than Scottie Barnes, even though Scottie's been bad in recent weeks, but he's had some moments. He's bounced back a little bit in last week, but performances like this, there's no excuse. There's nothing. Scottie Barnes, I don't know if he's back home and he had some home cooking and just was chilling. He's not in his usual rhythm, seeing family and stuff, but he looked zoned out of it. He was afraid to shoot the basketball. As soon as the ball was in his hands, passing it immediately, especially in that second half. At a couple times, they had Mo Wagner on him. They had bigs on him. And Scottie Barnes is settling for step-back threes. Right? It was one glaringly bad step-back three in the corner. Taking weird middies. Like, Scottie, man, drive the basketball. You're such an effective finisher. You have those long arms. And to be fair, Scottie was pretty effective rebounding the basketball. I thought he got some nice boards over Bol and Mo Wagner and the centers that they have down there. But when you get the basketball, don't just immediately pass it away. Don't just immediately, look shell-shocked out there. Take it to the rim. You're an effective bucket getter around the basket, and he's just not confident in this game tonight. Whereas, the guy that was drafted a few slots after him on the Orlando Magic and Franz, in this game, came out 34 points, especially in the first half, was absolutely electrifying. 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals. Had a very clutch bucket over Fred VanVleet that really sealed the deal for the Orlando Magic. And 12 of 15 from the field, 2 of 4 from the three-point line. He wasn't settling. He was driving the basket. And as much as I want to bag on Franz Wagner, I have a TikTok I'm whipping up between him and Franz. That's we're trying to get back on the YouTube short scene, TikTok scene. But, to roast the guy. But I can't. And now he's coming onto my podcast, Franz, and getting the Scottie Barnes award? That's how bad it's gotten, folks. That's brutal. That is brutal. But Scottie in this one, like, you look at the stats: 6 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 of 7 from the field. And this is the worst version of Scottie. This is, in my opinion, from my perspective, the absolute worst version of Scottie. Not him missing shots. Not him, turning over the basketball where he's trying to create things. The Scottie Barnes where he's just extremely passive, just not looking to do anything, afraid to do anything on offense, and just slow and lethargic on defense. Like, this is the worst version of Scottie Barnes we could have possibly gotten. And he's been doing it a little bit too much this season. Now, I know injuries have been brought up and all that sort of stuff, but man, look for your shot, Scottie. Have some pride out there on the defensive end. I'm not bagging on this guy's potential. People, whenever because I not rarely criticize, but I rarely get down on our guys. I try to be more positive, but I see people in the comment section whenever I criticize or, critique a game, like, oh, you're jumping all over the place. It's reactionary. Yes, these are post-game reactions. I'm reacting to this game. Does that mean I think Scottie Barnes is trash? We should have traded him in the offseason and Franz Wagner is better than him? No, it's not what I'm saying. But in tonight's game, it was a horrible, horrible look for Scottie. And the big thing, especially when you're judging a team, it's a long season and stuff. You don't want to judge off individual games, but you should, you start worrying and you start judging when you see patterns of behavior. And one thing about Scottie is there's a pattern now of him just occasionally coming out looking dead like this, looking passive, looking scared to shoot the basketball, looking just not effective on defense, despite being one of the best athletes out there on the court, despite, as we saw last year, everyone knows he can be an effective defender, right? It's just a horrible look. And I feel sick to my stomach that Franz Wagner ended up getting the Scottie Barnes Award tonight. Disgusting stuff. But Koloko didn't do too much. The long boy lineups didn't match up well for Christian Koloko in the first, as he was a starter. Boucher again tonight, similar boat. Hasn't been knocking down his threes this season. Hit 1, but 3 of 10 from the field. Looked a little bit afraid finishing around the rim due to the length the Orlando Magic have. Kem Birch I thought was better than a few of the bigs that we had out there. It's a bad look. Bad look for this Raptors team. But let's swing into the segments. And tonight, the spicy P-Lay of the day. We did have some spicy P-Lay moments, and a lot of them are going to Spicy P himself, who had a ferocious jam as the Raptors were coming back at the end of this game. Just a nasty dunk in traffic. I think it was over Mo. I think it was over Wagner, but just came in, crammed down a dunk. He was hitting some great shots. He was single-handedly running our offense in the second half, or especially the fourth quarter, and really brought the Raptors back into this one. So shout out to Spicy P. You'll love to see it. But not all plays to be the Spicy P Lay of the day, and some just make you say, oh, geez. And tonight, the OG's play of the day. There's a few plays it's going to. One, Scottie Barnes. The Raptors are going on a run. They definitely could have used a bucket at this point. Gets the lane, finally makes an effective drive, goes to the rim, and just sells a reverse layup that, it's right around the basket. No one really in front of him. Just misses an open layup. I'm not bagging on him. It made me say, oh, geez, but it's the right play. I want to see him take more of those drives, regardless if he makes them or miss them, because he'll make 95% of them, 99% of them probably, but missed the one during clutch time. But when you're afraid to shoot the rest of the game, that's usually what happens. That's usually the time, if you're going to miss a layup, for it to happen. Nick Nurse called the timeout, thankfully, before, but it's good. Scottie Barnes missed another layup down the clutch that could have tied it if Nick Nurse didn't call the timeout. But also Fred VanVleet. I get Pascal Siakam. It's the right basketball play. You're getting doubled by two guys that are 7'5". You missed a couple shots because, you are the only offense on this team at this point in the game, and you have some 7-footer on you trying to keep you out of the paint and stuff. I get why he passed it up, but the handoff to Fred, he had time to create a shot. Like, don't drive in on a 6'11" guy, Fred, and shoot like a step back fadeaway. It's a bad shot. Shoot your step back three. I like that more than the weird fadeaway in traffic that he was hoisting up. I guess he may have gotten a foul call or hoping for it, but you're not getting it at that time and score. So that was a bad look by Fred, and he also took a couple of threes down the stretch that, just given the percentages, given the eye test for this game, had no chance of going in. It just there's zero feel that it was going in, and they didn't. So those made me say, oh geez. But finally, the infamous, the one, the only Paul Pierce Golden Kazoo Award of the evening. once again, it's going to the Raptors 3-point shooting. And when the Raptors were hot to start off this year, I brought it up on podcasts, right? I was saying, the Raptors are good right now because everyone's hitting threes. And I was thinking it can maintain. We saw videos of everyone working on their jump shots this offseason. Frankly, Pascal's been good, OG's been solid, right? We have 3-point shooters on this team. But as a collective, in the past month, it's been brutal. It has been horrific, our 3-point shooting. Again, tonight, 28%. We're just not going to be able to win games. And a big part of that is Fred VanVleet. OG Anunoby probably should knock down a couple more shots. Trent's sort of back on track at this point. But guys like Boucher, Precious when he's back, we need some more people that can space the floor for this Raptors team. And I don't know, guys. It sucks. I'm sad out here losing the Orlando Magic. I'm frustrated. I feel embarrassed. But let me know what you guys think. You guys are best for making it this far. Shout out to CoolBet. If you guys made it this far, probably a diehard on the channel. And if you guys want to support the podcast, definitely use the link down below. Sign up for CoolBet. It's completely free. Just throw in a sign up. Use our link. Let us know, and then you'll be entered also for giveaways that we have coming up. You get your benefit out of it. You get access to a cool sports book all across Canada if you're interested in that. But regardless, definitely sign up. It means the world to us. But folks, you guys are the best. Subscribe to the channel. I'm rambling. I'm signing out. Cheers.